Hey everybody, producer husband Carl here with Cheap Smut, and we have a very special treat for you this week. Last week things got a little hectic. We didn't have an opportunity to make a new episode, but we didn't want to have a gap in the schedule. So our patrons got a bonus episode for the month of February, and you are getting our first ever bonus episode. This is a treat from the end of October last year. This is when we covered Butcher and Blackbird on the show, the crossover sensation that broke through Book Talk and made it to bestseller lists and is now being adapted into a film to be directed by Chris McKay. Normally on the main line, we don't cover anything more expensive than $4.99. But over on the Patreon, you get special stuff like this every once in a while. And you got me explaining the book to Katie. So that's why you're hearing this on the main feed today. It's, again, not normally something that we would do. But if you want more stuff like this, check us out on Patreon, where we have all kinds of fun episodes. We did our annual shareholders meeting, our holiday party, all kinds of stuff, deleted scenes, stuff that I cut out of the episodes and whatnot sometimes, stuff that's we think is fun but just doesn't fit the overall flow of the show, etc., etc. So with all that being said, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. Please enjoy this episode wherein we talk about Brynn Weaver's Butcher and Blackbird.
First arson, then a BLT. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Carl Mizell.
And this is a podcast that is not in my control today. Hello, Patreon.
For once, I get to do some, well, thrice. I get to do so. Yes, we're talking directly to our Patreon patrons because this is our long-promised first bonus episode.
Woo! Oh my God, I suddenly feel nauseous. Why?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm finally home after a week of stupid travel.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Can I see? I feel like because this is Patreon, I can be a little more real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
These are our patrons. They know us.
They know us. I had to go to Columbus, Ohio. I have nothing against Columbus or Ohio, despite being from Michigan, but I had to go for back-to-back conferences. A quick little 2-day conference and then followed by a 3-day conference. Yep. And then that second conference was just a big old waste of my time. So first conference was great. I got to talk to a lot of prospective new pharmacy owners, people that want to get into business ownership and pharmacy ownership. So I was there to talk to them about that. I was invited to speak at a non-CE event. Those are always fun because in CE events you have to be completely agnostic.
What is CE?
Continuing education. So these pharmacists, a lot of these opportunities that they get for these conferences, there are a lot of CE components or continuing education components. Some professions have CE elements, and pharmacist is one of them. Mm-hmm. And they were like, hey, so this dude from this company said that you'd be a really good person to speak to these people about what you do and how you can help them. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to talk to them. I love talking to people. And then the guy that was running it, somebody asked him about planograms and like fixtures and stuff for the stores, and this guy really loves his fucking planograms and fixtures, so he went on for almost an hour and I was like, I'm out. So
my services are no longer required.
Exactly. You guys can see me at my booth over the weekend. Yep. Which is also why, between that and just the fact that our technical the quality of the episodes was not going to be great if we recorded this while I was in Ohio. So we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon, and I'm going to turn it around today and get it out as quickly as I can. So you might be hearing this Wednesday evening.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to just bang this out this evening, hopefully, and get it in your ears.
Yes, and in my inbox.
And in your
inbox. I am not a patron, so you'll have to email this to me. True. Otherwise, I won't be able to hear it.
You could log into the Patreon and listen to it that way, but I won't make you do that.
Yeah.
So, as we have promised for several months now, we are going to be covering Butcher and Blackbird by Brynn Weaver, the New York Times best-selling sensation.
Yes.
That is Butcher and Blackbird, the first book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. We intended to cover this back in September, and of course, life gets crazy, and then we were going to cover it, but because we were going to cover it in conjunction with the fact that we were speaking to Bryn at Sinful Signings, and then we just kind of got, life got away from us. And stuff got crazy, and so now it is going to be the end of Spooky Smuttober for our Patreon patrons. And Himbo Jones, will you stop? He said, no, big dumb idiot. So, without further delay or adieu, as they say in France, I think sometimes.
Well, adieu.
Adieu.
Would be a version of saying goodbye.
Yeah, I do. Adieu. Adieu. Anyway.
Not even close.
Book 1 in the Ruinous Love trilogy is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. At press time, this book is currently available for $8.49 on Kindle or through pretty much anywhere that books are sold, because this is a very popular book.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it on the bookshelf in literally every bookstore I've been in.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
It's very cool that this has had this crossover appeal. And if you're listening to this and you don't know this book, well, at least this book has been picked up and optioned to be, what's the word I'm looking for, adapted into a film by director Chris McKay, who did Lego Batman movie, another movie that's escaping me, but Chris McKay is the guy that's doing that. So, for our triple T's, I'm just going to kind of wrap everything in together because I'm not super great at identifying tropes and titillations, but I can but I can tell you that this is an MF enemies to lovers romance, and I will leave the rest to Bryn's website. Eyeballs and eye sockets, amateur surgery, skin ornaments, chainsaws, axes, knives, scalpels, a lot of sharp objects. Accidental cannibalism. Not so accidental cannibalism. Questionable use of a mummified corpse.
Okay.
Lobotomized manservant. Ill-advised use of kitchen implements. I'm sorry about the cookies and cream ice cream. I'm not really. Detailed sex scenes, which include but are not limited to cock warming, rough sex, praise kink, anal, adult toys, choking, spitting, dom-sub interactions, genital piercings. References to parental neglect and child abuse. Parental loss not depicted. One parent murdered, one parent passed in childbirth. References to child sexual assault, not in detail. It's a book about serial killers, so there's some generally messed up murder and chaos.
Hell yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm down for that. So this is an MF cis heterosexual romance then? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Just wanted to
Thank you
confirm.
for the clarification. And we're just going to get right into it and meet our FMC, who is Sloane Sutherland. She is 23 years old and is just being described generally as being capital H, hot, raven hair, hazel eyes, freckles. Her body is described as curvy but strong, and a myriad of piercings that we will get into later.
Hell yeah.
When we first meet Sloane, she's definitely not at her hottest because she is currently locked in a cage, and this cage is currently in some dilapidated house in the middle of Louisiana in the middle of the summer, and so she's probably not feeling super fresh. She is in this cage because a man named Albert Briscoe put her there, but since Albert is dead now, courtesy of Sloane, all she can do is watch as the decaying corpse of Albert Briscoe finally loses the battle that it has been fighting over the last 24 hours or so with the maggots that are currently wriggling out of Albert's stomach. I believe this was alluded to during our conversation with Bryn when they mentioned the orzo.
Yeah.
Yes. This does come into play later.
I fear she has a tendency to describe disgusting things by comparing them to food.
Yeah, but I believe it was Jenny at Sinful. I think it was Jenny.
Yes.
That said that apparently that's how in medical settings, like when you're you're learning and you're learning about the gangrenous wounds or something like that's how maggots are described as looking like his orzo.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. You need to have something to compare it to, right?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. It's just also icky.
Very, very icky. So despite the fact that Sloane is a murderer, this is a bit too much for her, and she does her level best to sort of scrooch away and hum a melody to drown the world out around her. And the melody is the song Blackbird, but not the Beatles. It's like an old staple version. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's been performed many, many times.
So
it's an old staple.
It's not
Blackbird singing in the dead of night.
Yep, it's Blackbird singing the blues away.
Yes, I believe that is the one. Yes.
Yeah.
She declares that she renounces her wicked ways, much to the dismay of an unseen man who says he's pretty sure he'd love to learn her wicked ways. And that is how we meet our MMC, Rowan Kane.
Sure.
Like any good book boyfriend, he is almost offensively attractive. What with the muscles and the brown hair and the blue eyes and the perfect teeth. And don't forget the scar on his top lip.
Of course.
And the Irish accent.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, guys.
Save some pussy for the rest of us, Rowan Kane.
We are screwed.
Yep, we are fucked. I'm gonna. This is a relatively long-ish book, and I am not as well versed in this process as Katie is. So there is going to be a lot of blowing through a lot of stop signs.
Please, this is
But so just so you know, if you haven't already read it, go read it.
Yeah.
I will be glossing. There will be a lot of gloss.
That's the point of this show.
I know,
Yeah,
but I just feel like I have to point that out.
Just tell me the story. All the rest of the stuff they can find out in the book.
Well, the reason I point that out is because this is where we discover right off the bat that Brynn fucking crushes banter and dialogue.
Ugh.
Rowan reveals to Sloane that he was also here to take care of Red Murder, Albert Briscoe, better known to these two anyway as the Beast of the Bayou.
Okay.
Rowan is confused because he knows that Sloane, even at the age of 23, is too old for Albert's usual victims. Sloane, in turn, wants to know why Rowan knows Briscoe's type, to which he responds, "I've made it my business to know."
Okay.
He then compliments her very nice knife, which is currently lodged in Briscoe's neck. When he asks where she got it, she can only sigh and say, Etsy.
You've told me this joke, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love this joke. Support small businesses who produce beautiful weaponry.
Damascus steel, got it on Etsy.
Beautiful.
He formally introduces himself first by name and then by several of the nicknames that he claims to be known by: the Boston Butcher, the Massacre of Mass, and the Ghost of the East Coast. This is very funny. He's like, "You don't know who I am." She clearly knows who he is, but she's not going to let him know that. Her feigned ignorance results in Rowan saying, "Okay, well, good luck," and making for the door. And Sloane finally breaks and tells him both her government name as well as her secret identity.
Government name. Oh, Lord.
Her secret identity as the Orb Weaver.
The Orb Weaver?
The Orb Weaver.
That's the coolest fucking name ever.
You and Rowan agree, because upon discovering that she is the Orb Weaver, he loses his absolute fucking mind because he knows who she is.
Good. Oh my God. So he starts fanboying over her?
Yes, he immediately starts geeking out over meeting a personal hero. And
I love that.
Even though Sloane is very much into Rowan, she is taken a bit aback by his golden retrieverness there. He invites her to lunch, but only after she showers, finds some clothes, and they burn the house down.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. First arson, then a BLT.
Exactly. Their lunch kicks off the next chapter, and we have our first of many perspective shifts. Most of these chapters go back, and there are a couple of times where the chapters do not alternate. But for the most part, it goes Sloane, Rowan, Sloane, Rowan. We are currently seeing things from Rowan's perspective, and it is a very horny perspective. He's constantly talking about how his cock is aching to get out of his pants and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, bro,
they're constantly trying to get out,
been
man.
there, but just tone it down. Take about 20% off there. We get a good glimpse into Rowan noticing each and every detail of her physical form, especially that she is not currently wearing a bra. He noticed this. What's that?
Titties.
Exactly. He notices this when she rolls her shoulder, kind of like you do when your shoulder aches a little bit, and she reveals that Albert Briscoe kicked her into the cage, causing her shoulder to slam into the cage. And Rowan, again, good book boyfriend that he is, hearing this immediately inspires a wildly disproportionate rage,
of course,
inside of Rowan, especially relative to how long he's known this woman.
Yes. But there's also a parasocial element now.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's a great point because
he's a fan of hers.
Yeah.
He can be extra pissed.
That's true. The excellent banter continues with Rowan asking why Orb Weaver and not Blackbird, which the song she was humming was Bye Bye Blackbird.
Yeah.
That's the name of the song.
Blackbird, bye bye.
Yeah, that's the one. She says that she does kind of like acknowledge that, but Orb Weaver is for them. Whoever them are. I'm guessing the people that she kills.
Yeah.
Some more banter before Rowan catches on that Sloane absolutely knows who he is because she asked him why he was here for Briscoe, who is not a drug dealer, Rowan's preferred target. This, of course, makes Rowan behave adorably but insufferably.
Okay.
And in case it isn't clear, both Rowan and Sloane are serial killers a la Dexter. They only hunt other killers, but people that they deem to be worthy of murder.
So Rowan has specifically a vendetta against dealers.
Yeah, so he tends to he focuses on drug dealers, and apparently his methods are more just brutal.
Sure.
Whereas Sloane, as we'll discover later on, is much more meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
They begin discussing past kills, which leads Rowan to committing a party foul of sorts. He refers to Sloane's calling card of enucleation, eyeball removal, as gouged out. She corrects him, clarifying that she, quote, plucked them delicately like a lady.
I was going to say, enucleation is different from gouging.
Yes.
Enucleation requires a removal of the eyeball as a sort of act in and of itself.
Yeah.
So I used to be a very big true crime girly. that part of my personality is not as prevalent as the smut side anymore, but I still am like, yes, enucleation, yes,
yeah,
yes.
But it's in there. It's in there. So yeah, she corrects him. Rowan moves on and asks her if she's heard of a killer apparently stalking national parks in Washington and Oregon. She has, but declares that person to be a, quote, phantom, close quote. Rowan proposes a wager. First one to find that person gets to kill that person.
Ooh.
They agree to discuss the wager over ice cream. And this is where we have the first of many time jumps. So based on my best math, and also they do actually mention it late in the book, that at one point I think it's Rowan who says it's been 4 years. So this book takes place over the course of several years because this game that they play starts out as an annual event.
Right.
So 1 year later, we jump back to Sloane's perspective, and she's not doing great. She currently has a target strapped to her surgery table. She has sort of a, like if I'm remembering correctly, what we would call, like in the military, a connex. It's basically like a trailer, but like on the ground. Like imagine like a tractor trailer with no wheels or axle or anything. Just,
We probably call it a shipping container.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
something.
There you go. Shipping container, something like that. That's where she does all of her work. So she has a dude on the table, but all she can think about is Rowan. She decides not to unpack why she chose the image of a large sausage skewered by a fork for his contact image. Because she's been texting with him nonstop.
Sure.
And I know at one point she like thinks about how handsome and beautiful he is, and she also, it's like, I bet his cock is pretty too. They're not. It's not. It's a dick.
I mean, there is such a thing as a pretty dick.
Yeah.
Maybe she does find it pretty when she sees it.
Maybe she does. While her target wriggles and whines, Sloane gets a call from her best friend and the FMC. I said MMC. The FMC of Book 2, Lark Montague.
Oh yeah. Leather and Lark.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. They all of the pairings from the subsequent 2 books are
interconnected.
They're all interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
All the MMCs are the Kane brothers.
Yep.
And then we will meet the rest of them down the line there.
Yeah.
They discuss Sloane's itch for the contest and whether getting involved with a guy like Rowan's a good idea. While she is simultaneously chatting with Lark and dealing with the man on the table who it is revealed is a pedophile, she gets a text from Rowan explaining how the game will go. His brother, Lachlan, also the subject of Book 2, Leather. He runs Kane's atelier. the Atelier.
Oh, Atelier, yeah.
Atelier, yep. Lachlan will draw from a hat. His brother, Lachlan, will draw from a hat and then text them each a location. Sloane believes that having Lachlan involved will advantage Rowan, but he assures her that his brother will not be much help to him. A subsequent text from Lachlan telling Rowan he's about to earn his his title of loser official, which disabuses Sloane of the belief that he has any advantage with his brother.
Sure.
In the next scene, we get to formally meet the brothers Kane, Rowan, Lachlan, and the MMC of Book 3, Fian.
Scythe.
Yes, Scythe. Dr. Fian Kane.
All right.
Little of note happens in this scene, save for us getting a sense of the Kane brothers' relationship. It's very much like, it's very Shoresy, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, they rib each other because they love each other.
Exactly,
yeah.
yep. We learn that when Lachlan isn't running the leather shop, he works as a contract killer for a man named Leander Mays. This is the only time that Leander's ever mentioned. I assume it'll come up at some point in the future.
Yeah.
We also learn that while Lachlan and Rowan call Boston home, Fian has moved to Nebraska to the dismay of his brothers.
Nebraska?
Yes. Rowan receives a few texts from Sloane revealing that she is already on a plane to West Virginia, the target of their next location. So Rowan wraps everything up and gets to getting.
Yeah. Time to get going.
Gotta go.
Game on.
Exactly. We catch up with Sloane, who's in the lobby of a quaint hotel in West Virginia and wondering if everything that's going on is just a big fucking mistake. Her thoughts are interrupted when Rowan surprises her, causing her to fumble her e-reader. She claims to be reading monster porn. Specifically, she's reading about a, quote, sentient dragon man who has 2 dicks and a forked tongue, too, and a very talented tail, close quote.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like a pretty standard dragon shifter book.
Sidebar, Sloane would be a huge Cheap Smut fan.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Absolutely. The flirtation flies all over in this scene, and all of it is top-notch. We get some backstory from Rowan about how he and his brothers came from Ireland to America and how the trip inspired the name of his restaurant, because Rowan is a chef. The name of his restaurant, 3 and Coach.
Oh,
because when they left Ireland to come to America, it was just them.
Yep.
Their flirting is interrupted by a man named Francis, who is the proprietor of the inn, along with his cat, Winston. But after that brief interaction, Sloane and Rowan make for their rooms, which happen to be right next to each other.
Of course.
The separation is very short-lived as Rowan immediately pops over to knock on her door, and much to his dismay, Sloane is getting dressed and getting pretty to go out.
Oh.
Since he is a book boyfriend, he is immediately equal parts pissed and jealous. She leaves, and Rowan launches into some top-notch book boyfriending. And in the midst of all of it, he wonders what exactly Lachlan was thinking by sending them here. His research turned up very little beyond some missing hikers and an abandoned car with some New York license plates dredged from a nearby river.
Oh, okay. So Lachlan is sending them to a location to find a killer that they do not know about. So, like, they go there and then they have to figure out who they're hunting.
Right.
Oh, my God. That's genius.
Yes.
I would love that. I can't wait to watch this movie.
His brooding is interrupted by a text from Sloane telling him that she's fine. He attempts to regain leverage by replying that he isn't concerned, only to leapfrog fuck around and land right on find out when she replies, in that case, don't wake up. Winking kiss emoji.
Oh, uh-oh.
After 3 hours of this...
Fucked up, A.A. Ron.
Yep. After 3 hours of this, he finally hears her return. The paper-thin walls allow him to hear the faint sounds of music, which soon give way to a gentle buzzing noise.
Oh, okay.
Rowan makes sure to let us know that he has an erection before he hears another sound coming from the direction of Sloane's room. The sound of someone masturbating in the walls. He goes to grab a lamp to bash the wall, only to see a pair of real human eyes blinking at him from a painting in his room.
Oh, my God. What?
Yeah. Rowan smashes the wall to find that whoever was in the wall is gone and that Sloane is pissed.
Oh, my God. That's so fucked up.
She immediately assumes that he was listening to her masturbate, and he's trying to explain himself.
Yeah.
And she's not at all happy.
Yeah. Well, Your first. Sure, Rowan. There was a man in the wall. Yeah.
He tries to explain himself, but she takes off without him, and it starts to click for Rowan that Francis is the target.
Oh, yeah.
When questioned, Sloane divulges that she indeed was out with Francis and that, oh, yeah, this is a competition, dumb shit. Rowan tackles Sloane and then gets up to continue the chase of Francis. So now he's like, well, fuck you, I'm going to get Francis. So he tackles her and goes to get Francis. Who takes off in a nearby car. Undeterred, Rowan jumps on the hood of the car and shatters the windshield with a rock he's scooped up. Sloane yells, "Tree!" and giving Rowan just enough time to disembark the vehicle before Francis wraps it around said tree.
Yep.
Sloane moves to check on Rowan, but he wheels around and grabs her by the throat, declaring that Francis is his.
Okay.
She acquiesces, and then Rowan proceeds to literally beat him to death.
Of course.
But not before declaring to Francis that Sloane is also his. So he's just a greedy little boy.
Yeah.
Gobbling everything up.
Yep.
They reunite and head inside the house on the grounds of the inn, where we get a trauma dump from Rowan.
Mm-hmm.
He reveals that he and his brothers killed their abusive father, who gave him that scar, and fled Ireland for America. They flirt while Sloane patches him up, and Rowan basks in his victory. Mm-hmm. There's also some conversation here around, or there's a lot of inner monologue around Rowan thinking, "Oh, I've fucked up. I've scared her off. She's not going to come back."
Sure. Yeah. Well, of course. They always get like that. They always think that they are terrible people and they will drive their loved ones away. I'm sorry. He's a greedy little boy. Hit me like in waves.
Oh.
And I've been laughing quietly for 20 seconds.
You're welcome. Turns out I'm really good at this. I'm not as good as you, but I'm pretty good, I think. I think I'm doing okay.
You're doing great.
We get another time jump. This one is 6 months, putting us roughly 18 months beyond the start of the story. Sloane is hanging out with Lark and the cat, Winston, that she recovered from the inn. And they're watching their favorite comfort movie, Constantine.
Great movie. Speaking of, I found our DVD of that.
I saw it. It's all jacked up.
Oh, it's fucked. Yeah. But I found it.
I saw that. Sloane has been in constant contact with Rowan, but insists to Lark that they're just friends. Lark encourages her to pursue that in more than friendship, but Sloane refuses to entertain the idea. Lark encourages Sloane to go to Boston to see Rowan, which she does consider for 3 months, putting us at approximately 21 months. Mm-hmm. Sloane dillies and dallies across the street from Rowan's restaurant before finally mustering the courage to go in. She sits down and immediately places an order for alcohol. She drinks her drink and eats her meal, never letting Rowan know that she's there. She also passes the time by sketching a blackbird to help with her nerves, and that all goes out the window when she spies a very dangerous-looking man amongst a group of people entering a restaurant, which she immediately pegs as Lachlan Kane. She leaves the sketch before trying an Irish goodbye, but, she's surrounded by the guys who started it, so it doesn't go well, and she gets stopped by an Irish man. Sloane awkwardly tries to explain that she's here for work, total lie, before trying to bail, only to be stopped by Lachlan. Despite Rowan's insistence that she stay, Rowan has come out and discovered that she's there.
Sure.
Sloane ends up leaving him standing there. She also leaves the sketch on the table.
Okay.
1 week later, Rowan is now camped out outside of Sloane's house, which, if I remember correctly, she is in North Carolina.
Okay.
He has hired a kid to take food to her for her to cook while he is on the phone with her.
Oh.
Naturally, part of this meal is orzo.
Uh-huh.
They do this and it's fucking adorable. But he's hired this kid to basically, he's like, look, you get half now and half upon delivery. And he gives him like $50 and then like another $50. And then the kid says, hey, thanks, good job. And he says that he's saving up for a PS5. So he gives him like another $200.
Oh, that's so nice.
They discuss art, her career, because she does actually have a job as, I believe, as a data analyst.
Okay.
I believe is what it was. And how the Kane brothers bonded over food, which is how he came to the restaurant.
They're on the phone and he's talking her through making this meal. Oh my God.
And he's outside,
Yeah.
Rowan lightly stalks her for the next day before heading back to Boston. That night, they exchange texts about how they're both excited for the next iteration of their annual competition, which is taking place in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. A few weeks later, Sloane is chatting up a man named Thorsten Harris at a swanky cocktail bar.
Yeah.
He is their next target, and Sloane has him on the hook thanks to her due diligence. Rowan has no interest in such matters, and he crashes their conversation on the strength of his preferred tactic, which is to just follow Sloane.
That's cheating. That's cheating.
Yeah, but there are no... I mean, how do you make rules for a game between serial killers?
You tell him to fuck off. That's cheating.
Hold on 1 second. You are our target for a serial killer competition. I have to go deal with this asshole. Don't move. I'm going to kill you later. Rowan...
Do not fuck this man.
Yeah. Rowan,
He's cheating.
Yeah, he is cheating. Do not fuck this man. Rowan weasels his way into an invitation to dinner at Thorsten's house the next evening, which was Sloane's plan all along. Not to get Rowan there, but she was going to.
Yeah.
Right, that's the whole thing.
Sure.
That was her plan, minus the whole Rowan being there part. And of course, Rowan shows up and is immediately charming. Thorsten's immediately, loves this guy, kind of thing. The next night, the cat and mouse game begins almost immediately. Thorsten has served them drinks, and he takes notice of the fact that Sloane has not consumed her beverage. It is important to note that Rowan does not notice this. Thorsten files that away and decides to move things to the dining room. He grabs a quaint little bell and uses that bell to summon David, who Sloane immediately notices is not okay.
Yeah.
He's got yellowing bruises under his eyes.
Oh my God.
He's listless and responsive. She says that he's a very a fit younger man, but it looks like his muscles forgot they had a job to do. Like he's just sort of slumped over there. Though through Sloane's inner monologue, it's revealed that she knows what's going on, but Rowan remains oblivious. I didn't see any clues to indicate what Sloane was noticing.
Yeah, that this was a lobotomized person.
Well, no, I mean the whole she throughout this whole scene, it's made clear to us that Sloane is picking up on what's going on. All of it. But Rowan is completely oblivious.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't see anything that tipped me off. Rowan and Thorsten are engaged in conversation while Sloane is making exaggerated faces trying to get Rowan's attention to no avail. When Thorsten decants a new bottle of wine and Rowan drinks heartily from it, Sloane realizes she's on her own. She keeps trying to mouth the word lobotomy to Rowan, which he reads as, "You love me." Rowan's condition continues to deteriorate as David brings in some beef niçoise, which Thorsten refers to as his, quote, special take on the traditional version, close quote. Rowan's oblivious ass digs in and almost immediately passes out. Sloane does not. So this is what it's like when you see that face.
Mm-hmm. I know what the fuck is going on right now, and I've got an extra dose of feminine rage on top of it.
Yeah. So as Rowan passes out, Sloane realizes that Thorsten's onto her, and she says, well, it's just you and me now.
Yep, sure.
The next chapter is from Rowan's perspective, and he's coming to and discovers Sloane just going to town on Thorsten, whose real name is Jeremy Carmichael. He is the cannibal killer. He slowly comes around while Sloane works to pluck Thorsten's eyeballs, and not unlike Clarissa, Sloane explains it all to Rowan.
Yeah.
That she'd been tracking a cannibal killer in the UK for a while that had gone off the map. When Lachlan gave them the location for this year's game, she researched missing persons cases in the area, and they all matched the UK cannibal killer's MO.
Okay.
While she moves in for the kill, we get a trauma dump from Sloane. There was a professor at her college who was taking advantage of students, the nature of which is never fully revealed, but is strongly hinted at. And when he sunk his claws into Lark, that is what prompted Sloane to become the Orb Weaver. She killed this professor.
Yeah.
That was the first kill.
Okay.
And she became the Orb Weaver, promising to never to hurt those who have hurt others.
Yeah. Okay.
From there, Rowan starts to come to more, and he marvels at her web. So whenever she kills something, she has fishing line, and she's hanging pieces and eyes, and she's pissed that there it's a map. Every time she does this, it's a map, and the idiots in the FBI can't figure it out. And she's so proud of it. And Rowan gets it once she explains it to him.
Sure.
But he thinks it's
right.
Wonderful.
It's her signature. It's very complex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From there, Rowan marvels at Sloane's web, which we learned. I already said that. Then they move into the kitchen to check on David, who is absent-mindedly eating homemade ice cream, which includes, as Sloane calls it, an interesting alternative to salt.
Oh, God.
And they do mention that there's an expiration date on this ice cream. That is between April 10th and April 13th. That comes into play later down the line, but I wanted to leave that out there for you. Sloane then...
I don't want to think about it. I really don't.
Sloane then proposes that as a victory claim, Rowan takes David back to Boston to hire him as a dishwasher, which he begrudgingly agrees to do. Sloane then makes a confession to Rowan that when she saw him in Boston, she was not there for work.
No.
8 months later, we're approximately 30 months into this relationship now, Sloane and Lark are on a video call. Sloane is in Boston to accompany Rowan at a gala where he will be receiving an award for his restaurant, and Lark is simultaneously pumping Sloane up while also giving her some feedback on her outfit. Her top piece of advice is more boobs, or as I like to call it, shut up and play the tits.
God damn it, Carl.
Thank you. We also get insight into Sloane's relationship struggles. Not unlike your esteemed presenter, she has abandonment issues and struggles to understand why anyone would love her, including Rowan.
No, honey. Jesus Christ.
And then we get a trauma dump from Carl. Lark politely points out that he could have asked anyone to this gala, but he asked her.
It's true.
Yeah. If he's as hot as everybody says he is. Rowan picks her up at her hotel, and on the way to the gala, we learn that Rowan's been busy opening a second restaurant and that David has been doing well at 3 and Coach. At the gala, Rowan is his usual charming self, while Sloane struggles with socializing with anyone she isn't actively hunting. This is something that she talks about. Luckily for her, Rowan asks her to dance. They do, and the requisite sparks are sparking when Rowan points out a man and asks her if she wants to have some real fun. The man is Dr. Stephen Rostis, who, according to Rowan, has murdered at least 6 of his patients over the last 15 years. And here is where we get our first miscommunication, because this offer crushes Sloane, as she takes it to mean that Rowan only wanted her there to kill. It quickly dawns on him that she had no idea he would propose this, and that she, wanted to be with him.
Yeah.
Alas, his phone dings to let him know that there's an issue at the restaurant that requires his personal attention. After they part, they exchange texts with each of them saying that they miss the other and that they're both looking forward to their next contest in August.
Aw.
4 months later, or 34 months into the story now, Rowan and Sloane are deep in the heart of Texas and outside the home of their next target, Harvey Mead.
Oh, okay.
They initially aren't sure if he's home, but the starting and subsequent revving of a chainsaw, followed by blood-curdling screams and maniacal laughter.
Oh, gross.
Okay,
Harvey is gross.
Are what we in the podcasting industry call a giveaway. They agree that this guy fucking sucks, and it doesn't matter who gets him, but Sloane asks that if Rowan gets to him first, she gets to take something. They sneak into the house and find squalid conditions and the mummified corpse of, presumably, Mama Mead. They split up to find Harvey, and in doing so, Sloane discovers a room in the house that has 3 monitors receiving feeds from 18 different cameras, which was not, on their bingo card for what they're going to find in Harvey Mead's house.
Yeah. They weren't expecting a high-tech security setup with multiple coverage locations.
No, they were not. On one of the monitors, she can see Rowan in the living room, and he is unknowingly being stalked by Harvey. Sloane quickly leaves the room to warn Rowan, but runs right into Harvey's boot instead. Sloane comes to outside as she's rolling down a steep hill that she has been thrown down. Once she stops, she's almost immediately picked up by the hair by Harvey. He drags her to a cage in a cellar, another fucking cage for this poor woman,
Oh, God.
where a terrified woman named Autumn is already being held. Autumn tells Sloane that Harvey killed Adam. We don't know who Adam is to anybody. I guess the implication being that they're a couple. That was her boyfriend, partner, whatever.
Sure.
Sloane promises that she's going to kill Harvey, but that does not really, put Autumn's mind at ease.
Sure.
Sloane grabs her phone to find a flurry of frantic text messages from Rowan. She tells him where they're at, prompting him to come and free her. They tell Autumn to stay there and stay quiet while they track down Harvey. They find a barn on the property where Rowan inspects Sloane's shoulder. They're not quite sure if it's broken or dislocated. And Rowan expresses fear that he almost lost Sloane and that he fears losing her in general. A perfect preamble for their long gestating first kiss.
Hell yes.
That gets cock-blocked by the screams of a woman who cannot follow instructions.
God damn it, Aubrey.
Autumn. Same thing. They peek out to see Autumn just fucking booking it across the property with Harvey in hot pursuit.
Chasing her with a chainsaw.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Jesus. First kiss? No. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah. Well, Rowan decides to engage in some one-way primal play with Harvey because unbeknownst to Harvey, Rowan has gleefully snatched an axe and is now chasing Harvey.
Hell yes.
The chase
He's just like,
yeah. I can relate.
I can imagine the glee in Rowan. Yeah.
This eventually leads Autumn. So all of this eventually leads Autumn into the barn, followed immediately by Harvey. And out of fucking nowhere, Rowan leaps in to block Harvey's chainsaw with the axe, causing the chain to break and then lash Harvey across the face. Probably an improvement. Rowan then takes the axe to Harvey's knee, a metal as fuck move. And before Rowan can deliver the final blow, Sloane reminds him, she was promised a turn.
Yeah.
She just wanders off to the house for something and returns with the corpse of Harvey's mother.
Oh, wow.
Which she then proceeds to use as an ersatz ventriloquist dummy. And she's making it climb up Harvey's prone body. At one point, her dentures fall out of her mouth onto Harvey's face. And Harvey is fucking terrified.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
How terrified is he? He is so terrified that he spoils all the fun that they're having by dying from a fucking heart attack. Yes. They briefly consider trying to revive him just to bring him back and kill him properly, only to realize that neither one of them want to give him mouth to mouth. At one point, they talk about the fact that his mouth is just fucking
disgusting.
Hit. Yeah. He's not been going to the dentist, to say the least. At some point, they realize Autumn is gone. We never hear about her or from her ever again.
I'm sure she told a story to somebody that nobody believed.
Yep. They decide to burn this house down.
Autumn.
Yeah, I know, right? They decide to burn this house down and make for Nebraska, which is, close-ish to Texas.
Sure.
Home of the little brother, Dr. Fian
Yeah,
Kane.
I was going to say, and then we'll go visit the scythe.
Exactly. In the midst of their travels, Sloane dozes while Rowan pines and Rowan's cock presumably fights against his zipper. She wakes up feeling, unsurprisingly, like hot garbage, and thanks to the boot of Harvey Mead, she now also has a literal Carhartt boot print on her face.
Oh, that fucking sucks.
Yeah. Rowan promises to get her sorted as soon as they find a rest stop or a gas station. Sloane expresses that expresses concern that his brother, the doctor, might take umbrage with their game, but Rowan assures her that Fian's cool. They find a gas station where Rowan is able to procure snacks and the best clothing that a truck stop can provide. They get to Fian's house to find that he is not home, but his door is unlocked. They head inside where after some brief exploration, Rowan is unceremoniously cracked in the skull by what turns out to be a metal crutch.
Okay.
Said crutch is being wielded by, as described by Rowan, quote, a small 20-something dark-haired banshee of a woman, close quote.
Right.
This is Rose, better known as Sparrow from Book 3.
Yes.
She tells Sloane that she'll kill Rowan for what she thinks that Rowan did to her. So she sees the boot print and Sloane looking fucked up.
Oh, all right. Yes.
And so Sloane's like, no. Look at this. Look at the boot print. This is a Carhartt boot. Look at his boots. This is not him. He did not do this.
Yep. Yeah, but I appreciate being ride or die immediately.
Immediately, yeah. So she calls Fian and says, hey, somebody here is claiming to be your brother. Rose then says, okay, prove it. What is your childhood nickname? At this point, Rowan almost considers just dying.
Oh, no. He doesn't want to tell.
Instead of copying to his childhood nickname in front of Sloane, which was Shit Flicker.
Shit Flicker.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So Rowan helps Sloane get comfy on the couch and heads into the kitchen where Rose is posted up with a tarot deck for some reason.
Because she likes to read.
Yeah. Rowan declines a reading, but Rose kind of just keeps pulling the cards anyway. At one point, the tower comes up. She tells him that chaos and pain are in his future, but that knowledge could come from it all. He takes this as a warning that he could ultimately be Sloane's destruction. So again, very, very, the book boyfriend is book boyfriend and very hard.
Yep. Speaking tarolifically, she read his future vaguely, but because he was not holding the cards and focusing on the question, she couldn't give him specifics.
Good to know, because I know nothing about that other than what I know from various video games I play that use tarot cards as a mechanic. Sure. While all this is happening, Sloane is napping and dreaming of the aftermath of killing the professor that had been abusing Lark. She awakes. So in that dream, she remembers being on the ground, like the professor's body's on the ground, and Lark is holding her and comforting her and telling her Lark's parents were rich. She's like, "We'll take care of this. My parents will make it go away. You protected me. They'll understand." She awakens to find Rowan over her, and he offers to help her take a bath. He helps her undress, and the horny nearly floors both of them, which is fine because after over a dozen chapters of weapons-grade tension, they finally unleash the fucking.
Oh, thank Christ. Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Did you feel the thing where you were like, oh my God, finally?
Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
No, and this would be a great time to stop and say, I read this book for pleasure initially. Like, I know we kind of talked about maybe presenting it for the show. This book is really fucking good. And I really enjoyed it.
More people need to read smut. I actually have been made aware that listener Jim, who is also a friend of ours, now reads smut for pleasure because he enjoys the genre. He discovered from listening to our show that he just likes the genre.
Yeah, hell
fucking
yeah, Jim.
Rad, Jim.
Yeah. Shout out, Jim. We love Jim. Rowan orders Sloane out of the tub, and he carries her into the bedroom where he doms and she brats. He asks her to tell him about her piercings, asking that she hide nothing from him. He tells her to pick a safe word. She goes with chainsaw.
Okay.
And then this shit is on. We start with Rowan eating Sloane out, which immediately prompts Sloane to worry that they will be heard. Rowan cares not for this and continues with some edging. She is eventually allowed to come, and then Rowan plows her until he comes inside of her. He then moves down to recover his contribution and forward it to Sloane
via his mouth.
Via a kiss.
Yes. Okay. Full-on snowballing.
Yeah.
Wow.
They pass out with Rowan still inside of Sloane.
Okay.
She wakens to this scenario, which leads to her trying to, like, quietly diddle.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, but of course he wakes up, and they fuck again. And in the midst of all of this, Sloane discovers that Rowan has gotten a tattoo of the drawing she left at his restaurant the first time she visited.
Oh, my God.
Afterwards, they pop out to discover, I just realized that was kind of a pun, that they were most definitely heard. Fian tells her to rest and recover and asks if she has anyone to take care of her, and Rowan declares that that person is him and that he'll take her to Boston with him. In the next scene, we catch up with Sloane and Lark. They're both eating at 3 and Coach, where Rowan has a table permanently reserved for Sloane now.
Oh, yes.
Sloane is now moving into Rowan's apartment in Boston permanently, where she will be working her real job remotely. And they have also brought Winston along. Rowan joins Sloane and Lark, and Sloane's really happy by with how well they all get along.
Oh, God, the third act is coming.
Yes. Rowan takes Sloane to show her his new restaurant, which has not opened yet, but is almost ready. Reservations are already booked in advance. He has named it Butcher and Blackbird.
Yes.
In honor of their nicknames. There are also raven decorations to honor Sloane. They tell each other that they love each other, and they cook some dishes together that Rowan is thinking of including on the menu. And he's like, hey, what do you think of these fucking dishes that we're making here? Then they fuck a little bit in the restaurant.
Yeah, got it.
Then they go home.
Yeah. Restaurants are weirdly sexy. I don't know why, but kitchen romances are a thing.
Yeah, it's really weird. The one restaurant that I worked in, it seemed tame by comparison to other stories that I had heard.
Stories that you've heard about
from those
food
people
service.
that have worked there.
Yeah.
But they were like, and there was like, yeah, no, this is a little different.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about that restaurant that made it different, but
I think it was the structure of the place.
yeah, probably. Rowan is stressed out because things keep going wrong at 3 and Coach while he's also trying to open Butcher and Blackbird. And he just was like, man, fuck, I wish I could just fucking kill somebody and just kind of get rid of this tension, but I just don't have the time.
Who's got the time for murder?
Exactly. Having Sloane around helps, but Rowan worries that because he asked her to move to Boston to be with him and now he's barely around because he's working so much, this is a problem for her. She claims that she does not mind being alone so often, but Rowan worries that she's lying because the piercing thing earlier, like he wants no secrets.
Yeah.
So he immediately assumes that she's lying, even though she was like, "No, bro, no secrets."
Well, yeah, bruh, trust.
Yeah, exactly, right?
If she said no secrets, then trust her to actually tell you the truth.
Yep.
God damn it.
So opening night, Butcher and Blackbird. Rowan is in the kitchen preparing dishes. The restaurant's full, mostly of regular customers from over at 3 and Coach. Sloane is 45 minutes late for this, and Rowan worries that she's been hurt or arrested or that she finally just said, fuck it, I'm leaving, until she shows up with Lachlan, Fian, Rose, Lark, and Anna, who is, she was mentioned in a scene earlier that I forgot to mention her.
Yeah, another character. Yeah,
another character. Sloane says she was late because Lark and Lachlan were flirting and possibly hooked up. Wink. After Rowan's done cooking, he goes up to the front of the restaurant to give a speech thanking everybody for coming. Dr. Stephen Rostis, the man they wanted to kill from the gala, is also in the restaurant.
Okay.
The next morning, Sloane reads the reviews of Butcher and Blackbird. They're all very favorable, but Rowan is not surprised of this because it was mostly fans of 3 and Coach that were there.
Sure,
so he's like, well, I'm playing the hits to my crowd. Still, he thinks of the restaurant. He thinks it's off to a good start. Sloane suggests, hey, why don't we, just make Dr. Rostis our annual target instead of getting Lachlan to choose somebody. Rowan's fine with this, but wants to hunt him together this time instead of in competition.
Mm-hmm.
He does this because he thinks this would be safer, because ultimately he doesn't want to lose Sloane. He says he's already got enough to worry about, can't handle the thought of losing her on top of all of it. Once again, Sloane doesn't receive this message the way he intends it. She takes it as she is a burden and, he to be protected.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But Sloane says, he tries to clarify. Sloane says she's going to get coffee with her friends and then run some errands.
Mm-hmm.
Rowan's got a problem to attend to at 3 and Coach in the afternoon. He says, hey, come on up. Meet me. Let's go, we'll come up and we'll go have a drink afterwards. When Rowan arrives at 3 and Coach, which is closed for the rest of the day, he finds David still there. Different staff members are supposed to be responsible for taking David back to his group home where he has been living.
Sure.
Rowan fixes some broken equipment, the reason he was there, and then tells David that he'll drive him home as soon as Sloane gets there. Rowan goes into his office to put the tools away and then feels the cold steel of a gun to his head.
Oh.
An unfamiliar man's voice identifies him as the Boston Butcher and says that when the Orb Weaver arrives, Rowan must make her leave or he'll kill them both.
Okay.
Sloane arrives at 3 and Coach feeling special because Rowan entrusted her with the key for the restaurant.
Yeah.
She's decided to just trust Rowan and trust that he does not think that she's a burden, although it might take her a few days to shake the feeling, right?
And now he's going to say some really mean shit to her.
100%. So Sloane sees Rowan. He looks upset. He tells her that she needs to leave and return to Raleigh. He claims it's not working out between them because they're not normal and pretending to be is futile. And he says just really horrible things, calls her a fucking psycho and all this sort of stuff. This is where he says he claims to have made a similar comment between April 10th and 13th at the gala, but Sloane does not remember this. He says they're both monsters, calls her a psycho, and argues that he's too busy with all the shit he's got going on to have a relationship. She runs back to the apartment, cries, showers, buys a ticket to Raleigh, North Carolina, and calls Lark to tell her about everything.
Yeah.
While discussing with Lark how little sense any of this makes, Sloane realizes it's bizarre that Rowan claimed to have made a comment about not being normal at the gala between April 10th and 13th because those were not the dates of the gala.
Yeah.
Sloane checks her text to see what Rowan messaged her on those dates and finds a message about ice cream.
Yeah.
Which is what David was eating at Thorsten's house. Sloane checks a secret camera that she has planted in the restaurant and sees that David is the one holding Rowan captive. She calls Lachlan, asks him to learn everything he can about David while she books it down to the fucking restaurant.
Okay.
She gets there. Rowan's restrained in a chair, and he's fucked up. So David has been using a mandolin to remove pieces of him and eat him.
Them. Yeah. Yes.
And he's trying to force Rowan to eat it as well, but Rowan keeps his mouth shut. David tells us that he has a crush on Sloane because she stood up for him and asked Rowan to give him a job. But when she gets there, he plans to do some very ungentlemanly things to her and then kill her afterwards in front of Rowan.
Sure.
Rowan pleads with David to spare Sloane, but it does not seem to be working. Rowan regrets what he said to Sloane because he thought that he was saving her from David by lying, but now it seems like David's just going to fucking kill her anyway. So why did I do all of this?
Yeah.
Then David takes a corkscrew, jams it into Rowan's wrist to get some blood to go in some wine that he's drinking. And then Sloane arrives holding the gun that David has set down.
Sure.
She does not shoot David, pretending that she wants to talk to him instead of killing him. David shares that he befriended Thorsten, Jeremy, because he thought that teaming up with another serial killer would bring him protection.
Sure.
Sloane pretends that she is going to take David with her to kill Lachlan, but instead she gets close enough to him to hand him the gun, and she just fucking stabs him.
Sure. Yeah.
Killing him. Lachlan calls, says he's sending Fian to tend to Rowan and a cleanup crew. Sloane and Rowan try to patch it up. Sloane's offended, obviously, even though she realizes what he was trying to do.
Right.
That still fucking sucked.
Yeah.
But they tell each other that they still love each other, and they kiss. The next scene, Rowan and Sloane are fucking about it.
Yes.
Then they go to Lachlan's leatherworking studio to ask him to help Lark move her belongings into the apartment she's moving into in Boston. So, so she's Sloane's going to move to Boston in her own apartment.
Yes.
With Lark.
Yes. Okay.
Lachlan acts annoyed by this, but Sloane asks him to be nicer to Lark.
Okay.
Next, they go off to a tattoo appointment for Rowan. Sloane has drawn a tattoo for Rowan to get, but he has not seen it.
Okay.
So he's just going to get it blind.
Yeah.
And it's a tattoo of a raven and a chef's knife. And the artist tattoos it on Rowan's arm to cover up some scars. When it's done, Rowan says he loves it and admires the colors, assuming that the tattoo artist was the one who had added them because Sloane never uses color in her art. However, the artist reveals that Sloane contributed the colors, and Rowan is touched that she has started using color again.
Aw,
for her art. Rowan and Sloane have just killed, in the next scene, in the final scene of the book, Rowan and Sloane have killed Dr. Rostis together instead of in competition.
Yes.
They discuss the possibility of killing the Forest Phantom together the following year, even though Sloane is technically the winner based on their best out of 5 rule that they established at the beginning of the competition. Sloane creates her web, but adds pieces of colored fabric this time. Rowan tells Sloane, hey, why don't you go look in his eye socket there? And she finds a piece of paper indicating that next year's target is the Forest Phantom, as discussed. Oh, and also there's an engagement ring.
Yes, of course. Rowan
proposes, and Sloane says yes.
Yes. With a ring in somebody's empty eye socket.
Correct.
Motherfucker.
We have technically 2 epilogues. We have an epilogue and a bonus chapter.
Yes.
In the epilogue, the narrator of this epilogue is not named, but they are claiming to be the sibling of one of the men that Rowan has killed. The narrator watches Lachlan's leatherworking studio from across the street, seeing Rowan, Sloane, and Lachlan emerge. And then the narrator explains their plans to kill Lachlan to get revenge on Rowan for killing this person's brother.
Sure. Okay.
All right. So, in this bonus chapter, which is called Skullduggery, from Sloane's perspective, Sloane thinks Rowan is plotting something, but he will not admit to anything.
Okay.
She's stressed about planning the wedding because she's not sure whether to invite her parents or not, and while she would prefer a small, intimate wedding, she worries that Rowan would like a large one.
Mm-hmm.
They then have sex while Rowan is wearing a dragon costume.
Hell yes. I don't need to know why. I don't need to know why.
Well, if you remember back earlier in the book when she had her e-reader.
Yes. And she was reading Dragon Smut.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
That's a good boyfriend right there. That's a good fiance, husband, whatever he is now.
Sloane goes on a weekend spa trip to a beach resort with Lark and Anna. The location is so nice. So Anna suggests that Sloane could have her wedding right there. Sloane likes the idea, but is not sure if Rowan would like it. And then while Sloane, Anna, and Lark are getting massages, Anna, Lark, and the masseuse leave the room, and Rowan appears. He suggests they get married the following morning to alleviate any of the stress that she's feeling over planning the wedding. His brothers are already there, along with someone to perform the wedding. Sloane's dress is there. Everything else that they need is there. Sloane agrees, and Lachlan walks her down the aisle to marry Rowan, overlooking the beach. And that was Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver.
That was wonderful. Oh my God. Okay, so the thing about romance novels is I enjoy the weirdest things about them, or like not the things that you might think are my favorite parts. Yeah. The fact that he understood that his soon-to-be wife was a diligent planner who would be anxiously trying to figure out how to perfectly execute a wedding, and he took all of that off of her plate, is the most beautiful thing I have ever heard. I love that. Yes, she takes people's eyeballs and he beats folks to death. But also, that's beautiful.
And it was. And I mean, we are just past the 1 hour mark here.
Oh,
so
wow.
Nailed it.
Holy shit, yeah.
But that included
you cruised through it, but that was a good story.
It was a great story. A lot of broad strokes. If you have not read it, I highly recommend you do it. I know we're taking some liberties with the bonus episode format because we always say $4.99 or less for all of our books.
Sure.
But this was, this was my first, well, not really first, third technically, second full-length smutty book.
Yeah.
That I have read for the show, and we wanted to do it. I lost my train of thought. We wanted to do it for the bonus episode. I don't even remember what I was trying to say.
Oh, you were talking about cost.
Oh, basically. Yeah, the cost. Thank you. So we figured, what the hell, for the bonus episode, we'll throw this one in there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I figure if we're throwing these out to Patreon as special episodes, we can do whatever we want with them.
Exactly.
And we can cover whatever books we want.
Yeah. Or we might not even talk about books.
Yeah.
We've talked about covering different just topics, and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
we've talked about all kinds of stuff for this.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about whatever we're into.
Oh, fuck! Shit! God damn it! I have to decide. What am I into?
Do you need a minute?
Yeah.
For every drug, or for every version of a drug, there's a gateway, I suppose. And for the drug that is the McElroy brothers,
yes.
My gateway has been Monster Factory.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been aware of the McElroy brothers. I even bought their book about how to make a podcast before I started this podcast, just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything. And it was a very good book, and I highly recommend that you read it. I don't do a lot of podcasts. But I love YouTube and I love videos, and I had a lot of time to myself in my hotel room over the last week. And there was a Monster Factory with Dark Souls, and I was like, well, I love Dark Souls, and I know that I like what I've heard from the McElroy boys, but now I'm stupid hooked on Monster Factory. It's a show where Griffin and Justin Griffin will just use the random generator, like character creation element of games that have like really robust character creators, and make the most hideous creation out of it, and then they'll do a little bit of gameplay, but they try to come up with like a little bit of a backstory for the character and everything. That
it's just them fucking around.
Yeah. And it's delightful. It's just delightful. So I'll just link to a playlist of all 74. I think a 74th episode came out today. of Monster Factory from Justin and Griffin McElroy on YouTube.
All right.
What are you into?
Oh, God. I think I'm going to go with Agatha All Along.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's go with that one. I love it. I love it. And I was hesitant to watch for a long time because, like you, I am Marvel the fuck out at this point.
Done.
I could not give two shits about Marvel. And
if I may interrupt you there, that I want to point out the significance of that, which is for the longest time we were all in, like I saw the first Avengers 5 times in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
We saw all the movies, all the show. Like
that was back when you had to line up at movie theaters. We would get there in the middle of the previous showing so we could get the first seats.
Yep. This is pre like
online reserve seating.
Exactly. Please continue.
Yeah. So look, I loved Marvel. I loved first phase Marvel. I obviously love the comic books. I am a nerd. But for a while, I didn't want to watch any Marvel content. And then you went out of town, and I was like, you know what? I'll give Agatha a shot because they got me on TikTok. Mm-hmm. Like, they got me in the algorithm with mostly Patti LuPone-related content because my little theater-loving heart will always love Patti LuPone.
Of course.
And when I realized that she was a major character and that they had brought back another one of my favorite characters from WandaVision, Deborah Jo, best known as the mom from that 70s show.
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yes, Deborah Jo Rupp, thank you, is in it too. And she was so funny. Anyway, so it's great. I love it. The cast is, for the most part, the core cast is entirely women, adult women in their 30s or older, and one very gay emo teenaged boy. Like, that is so me coded, right? That's so, and like half of them are gay, half of them are lesbians. That is so me coded. So I'm watching Aubrey Plaza be incredibly hot and also super dangerous. And then what's the name of the woman who plays Agatha?
Catherine Hahn,
thank you, gives the most incredibly gut-wrenching performances, but they're so subtle because none of this is super dramatic. It's not clawing at your heart. It hurts your heart, but it's not clawing at it the way WandaVision did, and it's still so incredibly compelling to see how these tiny choices that she is making are affecting so deeply the reality of this story. You know, I will never go back to theater or acting, but I will always respect the art of it and the craft of it.
Oh, yeah.
And Catherine Hahn is an artist.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
She's wonderful. And then you add on top of it Patti LuPone, who is just kicking everybody's ass in every scene.
Yeah.
Chewing it until it is just mush in her mouth. It's amazing. And they sing.
It's been fascinating to watch Catherine Hahn's arc.
Yes.
From the first time I remember seeing her, she had a very bit part in Anchorman.
Yeah.
She's the one who told Veronica that he will read anything on the teleprompter.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yep.
That delivery. And I was just like, who is this random ass person?
Yep.
And just slowly, but she's gone from a bit player, character actor, supporting roles, best friend.
Yep.
To Agatha.
Yeah.
And just phenomenal.
Yes. And
phenomenal.
Incredible. There's 2 more episodes as of today. The next episode lands at 9 p.m. tonight. And I am on the edge of my seat like it's 2004 and I don't have streaming services yet. I have to wait for the episode and it's going to be on at 9 and I'm going to watch it.
Well, we can wait for that. We don't have another book to announce for the bonus episode. We're just going to kind of figure it out as we go. So in the meantime, you can find us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Cheap Smut. If you would like to send us an email, you know what to do. cheapsmutpod@gmail.com. I will put a link to this book down in the show notes. It is not an affiliate link. We are not getting any money for that, but you already know how to support us, and we are still going to rattle off all your names because we want to thank you directly for supporting us.
Yay!
Miss Chris, Raven, Natasha Bear, Desiree Rodriguez, Local Mind Flayer, Seattle number 42, Bookworm, Kitsune Inc., Cassie, Cassandra, Brian S., April D. Berry, Leah Legend, Dana Goddard, Gemma, Lady Squishy Buns, Tia Esk, Rob Gatika, Angela McNichols, Katie Hurd, Gwendolyn Harper, Seneca O, and Rebecca K. The music that you hear in this and every episode, bonus and or otherwise, is called Nostalgia by Mackay Beats. You can find it along with thousands of other songs free of charge for you to use, but not you, Himbo Jones.
Never you.
At the Free Music Archive, freemusicarchive.org.
Listeners, remember, if there is a book in you, write it. And no matter how violent, fucked up, or absurd it may be, I'll read it.
And then she will come on this show and explain it to me for your entertainment, but sometimes I might explain it to her for your entertainment as well.
Yes! We'll keep you on your toes, patrons.
Ha!
Bye, guys.